Good afternoon, viewers from all over the world. Here in USA, Bangladesh, and United Kingdom, as well as all enter Europe and Australia. Also, there are some folks from there watching with my best friend Apu. And today we are starting at 12 p.m. USA time, UK time, and Europe time 5 to 6 p.m. And Bangladesh time is 10 p.m. Here is our proud guest, no other than only Neil Sternberg. He's my friend, my brother, my colleague, and a leader of Leesburg Town Council. He's a very nice guy. He has a nice white hair. But the day first I met him with a blue jacket, the snow day, LCDC, I think a general meeting or election day. From that day, I don't know why I like Mr. Neil. He's so nice person, and we become friends. We did campaign together, and I think it's 3 or 4 term he's running as a town council of Leesburg. Leesburg is a district in Loudoun County, where I live. His business and his residence is not more than mile and a half from me. So, brothers and sisters, and whoever watching and will watch, let's introduce Neil Sternberg. Welcome to our show, Mr. Neil.
Thank you very much, Sharafat. It's a pleasure to be here. Lovely day, and I look forward to having our conversation.
By the way, you look great. How is your wife doing? How is your family doing?
Family is doing fine. My wife's doing fine. We're still looking after her mother here in Leesburg, who, God willing, as they say, will be 99 come this August. So, yes. Congratulations to her. That's been a bit of a
9 years.
Yes.
Very good. We are praying for her well-being. Yes. And brothers and sisters, I know all over the world you are watching and will watch whole week, if God wills. And then this show is Let's Talk with Sharafat, only designed to ask the person who we bringing who he is from childhood to now.
Oh no. Yeah.
Neil, who you are actually. Actually, people love this show because this is not a political. I used to do a show, live show, 1 hour every Saturday. Started with Tuesday and Saturday. Then now we moved to Wednesday because this is our own platform. I used to do in a different platform 1 hour show, and that was politics, culture, and education. But now here, let's talk with Sharafat. We started with who you are.
Who I am.
So, floor is yours, Mr. Neil. I can talk a lot about you, but I want viewers to listen directly from you. So, again, floor is yours from childhood to now.
Oh no, that's a long conversation.
You can touch your education. You can touch your education. You can touch your very critical time of the life. You can good time, bad time, family. Just who you are. Actually, people need to know.
Sure.
We want them to know.
I'm a native, as we say, a native Northern Virginia. We're a rare breed because Northern Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C., is a very fluid place. And so people come and go often, and oftentimes are not actually born here. But I was literally born in the city of Washington, D.C., because at that time, one of the better hospitals was in the city. But I never lived in D.C. My mother's family is from Washington. But in my early childhood, we lived in a suburb just outside of D.C. Called Falls Church. My parents had a hardware store there on West Broad Street and a shopping center built by my great uncle. And then eventually we moved out to another suburb called Fairfax, to a house that my father built because at that time he was in the construction industry. And we lived in that area for a while. And then just before I entered what would now be called middle school, but was called then junior high school, we moved out further into Fairfax County. And that's where basically I grew up through junior high and high school. I am one of what then were 5 siblings. I had an older brother who passed away almost 2 years ago. But I still have 3 sisters, 1 older and 2 younger. So my older and younger sister both live in California. in the Sacramento Chico area, and I have a sister who's just a little younger than am I, and she lives in Israel. She's been there since 1975 and has a family of her own, and has been happily married and involved there for some time now. I went to Virginia Tech, which when I went there was called Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University, a long name. My first year there, I was in the Army ROTC, but decided that wasn't for me. And I went through three majors, started in engineering, then political science, and curiously enough, wound up as a theater major for my last several years at Virginia Tech. That's where I met my wife, KD, who had
Mm,
gone, spent several years.
interesting. Yes.
Yeah, she had spent her first 2 years of college in Switzerland at the American College of Switzerland, which is in Les. And we met there and decided to travel around the country in late 74 to early 75, lived in San Diego for about 4 months and decided we didn't really care for Southern California and wound up coming back to Virginia and moving to a very rural part of Loudoun County in 1975. And so we've lived in Loudoun County ever since. We spent 30 plus years in a small town or outside of a small town called Bluemont,
Mhm.
and started a business here in Leesburg, as you are aware, in 1979. It's a photographic based business. And then we moved actually into Leesburg in 2008 to help care for her mom, who had moved to Leesburg by then. And then I ran for town council in 2019. And as you mentioned, I am now up for reelection for my third term of 4 years. And that's sort of a brief synopsis of how I got from there to here. So,
So you mentioned some of the points is related to my lifestyle. Like Fall Church is right very next to my. I have several business. The restaurant business is in right corner of Fall Church in Arlington, where you mentioned Broad Street is very common for us. For me too. Every day I travel there, and then Sacramento. My older sister lives in Sacramento since '97, and I drove up to there. Neil, I told you, I guess.
I think
So
so.
Sacramento, I surprised. It's a common. Your sister lives there. My sister lives there.
Yes,
What a nice city, Sacramento. I was there for four
it
days
is.
only. And I
Yeah.
drove up to there, Neil. You don't believe it. 2,800 miles from Leesburg to Sacramento, my sister's
Well, I
house.
do believe it. I've made that trip by car several times. I actually have
Wow.
I've driven across country in one direction or the other 5 times. So 4 times from the East Coast to the West Coast, one time from the West Coast back to the East Coast. So um, the United States is a big country. There's an awful lot to see, and every time I went, it was a different route. And there's some really
Which route you took? 40 and 80? I went to 40 and then I saw down the hill 40 miles around Nevada area. And I saw it scared me. And then I decided not to come the same way. I came other way, Arkansas way, and it's actually, oh my God, Las Vegas, Arkansas. It's a
sure.
lot.
Yes.
And then,
Well,
then while I was going the best uh, actually state, actually I crossed 17 state, I guess.
uh-huh.
Back and forth. But I love Utah, Salt Lake City on the side when you cross the bridge. Yeah, go
Yes.
ahead.
Well, that's a very beautiful area. Actually, I misstated. I've actually driven from the west to the east twice. So several times going from east to west, the route you described from this area would be not familiar to a lot of your viewers. Our Interstate 81, which runs down to 40, and you take that across, as you said. Um,
No,
to,
no, we have lots of viewers who knows 81. They
there
live
you
in United
go.
States. We have
Okay.
bunch of USA people, even United Kingdom. Lot
Sure.
know about our area. Yes.
So you have 40, and then basically that goes through as you know Tennessee and Arkansas, and you wind up going through Oklahoma, brief part
Mhm.
of Texas, and eventually Arizona, New Mexico, Arizona, and then up into California. Another route is Interstate 70, which takes you through St. Louis, and then
So Neil, that for viewers, I want to share one thing that for California, who want to drive or want to go a big trip to California coast to coast from this area, actually lots of mountains. This whole USA all about mountains. The Wyoming, the Nebraska. You mentioned some area. Oh my God, it's a way long 6 7 hours continuous straight drive, nothing but mountain. Go ahead.
well,
Share some
well,
those
you
interesting things while you traveled.
well, you are correct. I mean, first of all, on the East Coast, you have the Appalachian Range, which is one of the oldest mountain ranges in the world, actually, which is why the mountains here are so short, so to speak. I think the tallest peak in the Appalachians is up in New Hampshire, and it's around 6,000 feet. Um, but going to the west, unless you go very far south, you cannot avoid the Rockies, and that is simply a
Yes.
spectacular trip. You have peaks that rise to over 14,000, and I recognize there are peaks in other parts of the world that are higher than that, but still, 14,000 feet is a great elevation. A lot of snow, as you might imagine. There's skiing out there and so on. And the fact is, it's a beautiful drive through those mountains. There's no other way to describe it. You have the Grand Tetons and the Cascades and so on for the north. Um, so take your pick in terms of the direction you wish to travel, whether it's north or middle or somewhat south, and you will absolutely see mountains. So
Yeah,
it's
you mentioned 40,000 feet. I was traveling with another friend, uh, with the family. What happened? There was summertime, Neil and viewers. So going is going up and up. We can feel we are oh my
sure.
God, you cannot see down. So all of a sudden we saw some ice, sorry, snow,
Hmm.
sprinkling a lot. I thought it's a cloudy something, and I didn't realize this is a real snow. So it's the summer, Neil. It's like
Right.
almost this is July, I guess. You cannot believe July you can touch snow. Is around 100 degrees. So what happened? My viewers 100 means American hundreds. Don't think that you're hundred. So our hundred is very hot, like Saudi Arabia or
That would be
Bangladesh.
very hot. Yes.
And then the driver was with me. Driver means a friend, junior friend, because you have to have a true driver to travel coast to coast. When I sleep, he drive. When he sleeps, I drive 2.5 days one way. What happened? Finally, he forced me to stop, and I stopped, and we get out. Even the scary mood, and that was a Chrysler 300. Was a good car we rented that time.
Sure.
I loved that car, so that was not nothing happened. So it was a completely very nice, was a nice car. So I touched and really, Neil and viewers, it's a really snow. 100-degree, you are touching snow on top of hill. That's a different feeling.
Yes.
And I, all of a sudden, I get inside and start driving. That's the experience I just shared with you guys. Okay, let's talk something else, Neil.
Okay.
You're a photographer. I went to your store and we have some lunch, some breakfast, some tea time with you. It's a very fancy brothers who is watching from Leesburg and Loudon, Virginia. Especially, you have to see his photography style. What a fabulous photography place he has. I saw so many unique stuffs over there. Visit his area if you guys can call. You know my number, and you can message to us, so we can link to Neil to see your photography place. So Neil,
Thank you.
how you said 79 on your uh,
Yeah.
at the beginning. You had mentioned that 79 you started that business. Why you started that photography business? It's why
Ah,
it was on your subject. That's okay, but why you choose that one?
well, that's a good, very good question. When we moved to Loudoun County, and this was after my having worked in theater for a while, but decided that wasn't really going to sustain me through my life. Um, So we moved out here and took on a variety of jobs. Actually, the first thing I did out in Loudoun County was to operate a bicycle store for 2 years that was owned by a
Mm.
cousin of mine who had a very successful shop in Vienna. And he opened a location out here, and I ran it for a couple of years. And we were the first real bicycle store in Leesburg. I mean, you had things like Western Auto,
Ah,
but it was
when was it? When? Before 79?
this. Yes, that was in '75.
Okay.
So, and it was in that store was in the Virginia Village Shopping Center, which, as you know, is now the area where all the construction is going on. They're building apartments.
Mhm.
Shopping
Mhm.
center office disappearing. So I did that for 2 years, but my cousin who owned the store and I decided the store is too big, and at that time there just wasn't enough business to sustain it. So we decided to close it down. And at that point, I did a couple of odd job types of things. And by then, KD, my wife, was working for a gentleman who had a photo studio here in
Mm.
right downtown Leesburg. And he had a dark room in that photo store, and had a couple kids sort of running it in a not very great way. And he asked me if I could do that, and I said, never having worked in a dark room or developed a roll of film, I said, sure, I can do
Okay.
that for you. So I
Okay.
literally went into the dark room for the first time with a book, and
Mm.
I taught myself how to develop film. And one thing led to another, and I started taking over more responsibility of his studio,
Mm.
including an area that we refer to as copy and restoration. And
Well,
eventually,
can you tell? I had in my life, like our three terms former prime minister, she passed away recently. So when she became first time prime minister, we took some pictures at her because there is a family relation. So we took some pictures, and there was an issue with the pictures. And then someone tried to destroy those pictures, I believe. That's why I'm asking you. And then when you open the backside of the camera at that time, those days, I'm talking about 92 or 3, but still that time we had 35 millimeter camera,
film,
a
sure,
film. If you open the back side, it will black out everything. You're not going to see
yes,
any. So how you develop this? I don't want to bring that story here, but there was incident. That's why I was scared. Someone
sure,
opened, and then still some pictures saved, and all was gone. And
yes.
there was a very strange memory of our life. We'll talk. We're not going to talk detail, but what? How you do this black? Uh, what you said? Dark room processing thing. What is that?
Well, first of all, to address what you're talking about, that is not an unfamiliar situation. People accidentally opening during the film age, as we call it
Uh-huh.
now,
Uh-huh.
opening the backs of their camera before they had rewound the film into the cassette. And
Mm,
once that happens, a good portion of the film will be then unusable, but the film that has been tightly wound on the take-up reel might still be salvageable, but the only way you would know would be to quickly close the camera back up, rewind the film back into its cassette, and then develop it to see what you get.
mm.
If you're asking how do you develop
So
film,
you rewind the whole cassette as it was at the beginning, right?
yes, again, first of all, it's going to depend on how much film had been advanced to the camera in the first place when the back was opened,
Mm-hmm.
and how long the back was opened and how much light may have struck the film. A lot of it may well be ruined, but again, the only way to tell in the end would be to rewind the film back into its cassette and process it to see what, if any, of the images are salvageable. So
Interesting. I never thought in my life till now that I'm going to talk about dark room processing
well, there you
system
go.
for film. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
And so that's the next part we don't need to know. So you end up with running that show. Okay, then.
Well, as I said, the gentleman we were working for, he really wasn't very good at anything he was doing. And he then decided to go out of business. And Katie and I decided, well, we could do that. We could
Yeah.
have a business and go out of business. So we decided to simply continue in the same space, actually a
Mhm.
much smaller space than he had totally occupied. And we basically started doing everything that he was doing, with the exception of selling equipment. We never sold cameras or darkroom equipment or anything like that. We did sell film and chemistry and some photographic paper. But basically, we did photography of various types.
Mhm.
And we continued in the copy and restoration vein, and eventually that grew into also art reproduction, a variety of other photographic based types of business. And it was all film based at that time. However, around, oh, I don't know, I guess in the 90s, we started to see the transition into the digital age. And interestingly enough, Kodak developed one of the first digital cameras, but for some reason they didn't take themselves seriously and never actually grabbed onto the tiger's tail of digital photography. And as we all know, Kodak now is virtually out of the photography business. They still have substantial interest in chemistry and textiles and stuff like that, but not in photography. So they failed miserably at becoming involved in the digital age.
Even though they were very big that time before
They were one of the
digital.
first developers of
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
portable handheld digital camera. Yes, exactly. Um, we made our transition from film into digital first by starting to scan films that served
Mhm.
part of our work. And I didn't actually transition it into digital cameras until sometime after that. But now everything I do is digital. I still have a dark room. It's primarily a big spray.
You still have a dark room. Some
I
people
still have
still
a dark room.
does use those cameras.
Well, the answer to that question, yes, people still do, but
Ah,
we are not developing film or printing anymore in the darkroom. It's simply it's too time consuming, and it would be too expensive to make it practical. But there are dark rooms that still
but then
exist.
the company is still Fuji and Kodak still selling those 35 millimeter film.
You can still buy, oh yes, you can still buy all kinds of film, and you can still
Wow,
buy
I didn't know that.
papers, chemistry.
I thought all those went to museum.
No, no, no. That part of the industry is still very much alive, and that you do have people that still do it. In fact, you have professional photographers who, for one reason or another, have decided they only want to shoot film because it's got a
Mm.
look. And if you can make a living doing that, then more power to you. The work I do, that is not possible. Everything I do simply has to be in the digital vein. And these days, although in the past I shot all kinds of photography. I mean, I did portrait
So
work. I
what
did
is
a
the
lot.
digital is easy, digital is much easier and much nicer, right?
Easier
And
and nice. Well, those are two words that can get you a little bit into trouble. It digital can facilitate, yes, and there are
Mhm.
certainly things I can do in the digital age that I would have been very, very difficult to do in the film age. But we still did everything we do now using when it was all about film. It was just a more complex and sometimes more time-consuming process.
I don't know what happening to the internet or something. নীল ইজ আউট অ্যাগেন দর্শক আমরা ওনাকে আবার হারিয়েছি আমি বাংলায় বলে নিচ্ছি ফাঁকে দিয়ে যদি ইংরেজি কথা বলছি হি ইজ এ ফরেনার ফরেনার মিনস আমেরিকান সো হি ইজ আওয়ার প্রাউড টাউন কাউন্সিল অফ লিসবার্গ উনি কথা বলছিলেন আমাদের ফিল্ম জগৎ নিয়ে যে ওনার স্টুডিওতে ওনাদের একটা ব্যবসা আছে এখানে ফ্যামিলি বিজনেস ইজ টু বিগ এবং এটা খুব প্রফেশনাল করে ওনারা ডিজিটাল থেকে আমরা সেই অ্যানালগ থেকে ডিজিটালে কেউ আসলাম সেটা বলছিলেন বাট আমরা আবার মিস করে গেছি এনিওয়ে we are talking with Neil about who he is actually. It's the same we do all the time. আমরা সবসময় বলে থাকি let's talk with Sharafat. আপনি কে who you are এটা ইন্ট্রোডিউস করছি আমরা ব্যাস আমাদের প্রায় 10টা এপিসোড চলছে আমরা আমাদের নতুন প্ল্যাটফর্ম লেটস টক উইথ শারাফত আপনারা সাপোর্ট করবেন লাইক করবেন শেয়ার করবেন and follow করবেন প্লিজ we need lot of followers for YouTube. So যেহেতু আমি এটা আরেকটা প্ল্যাটফর্মে ছিলাম we did for years and then this started by our own and Mr. Mubarak Hussain and his team is doing the logistics support from Bangladesh. Thank you, all of you guys who is working behind the scene. Brothers and sisters and the viewers, this is not easy to run any form of television. It's ITV or internet TV or live TV or regular TV. All takes a lot of time and a lot of it's costly effective as well. And and I like television interview things.
Okay,
So
we're back.
we again viewers and দর্শক আমরা ওনাকে আবার ফিরে পেয়েছি. So again when it happened before very not many times. So and then I start talking what we discussed, what was our plan. So we don't want to miss the show. Welcome again, Mr. Neil Sternberg.
Thank you.
And your name is very handsome. Very pronounce Neil Sternberg is very strong.
Oh, thank you.
Good name. Yes.
I
And
appreciate
Neil,
that.
so we talk about film, your studio, and I explained a little bit while we lost you that what digital to analog, what you do, and how fancy studio you have. And Leesburg, go to Neil's studio if you missed it. So, Neil, next version, because we are almost 20 minutes, 25 minutes, next
No
15
problem.
minutes, we're going to talk about. You told me you moved to photography side, but after you did the photography, and then why you plan to do politics?
Well, simply put, I've always been involved in politics and interested in politics. As you probably are aware, I grew up.
So my question was why you plan to run. I know you've been politics a little bit, but
yes. In my growing up in the United States, it was a politically fraught time, one might say. And so I always paid attention to politics. I was always interested, but never felt I really had the time to devote to such a thing. I think sometimes people underestimate, just like with many professions, people sometimes denigrate what they refer to as professional politicians. But the fact is, even in politics, in my view, it's very important to know what you're doing. And sometimes people think, oh, well, I can just become a politician, and how hard is that? Well, when you get into it, you find out how hard it can be.
It is. I know, Neil. You know, I know.
So I never felt I had the time because of my business responsibilities and where I lived also. I didn't live in Leesburg for the first 30 years. I was in Loudoun County. So even though I had a business here, I would not have been eligible to sit on the Leesburg Town Council. So once we moved into Leesburg, and I'd been doing the business for a while and for quite a while. And so when 2018, 2019 rolled around, I felt, okay, not only having lived here and become very familiar with the people who live here, the other politicians who live here, and the town staff that is very important to the running of this town, and the issues, I felt I had the time and I was prepared to run. And I spent a lot of time understanding, what I was getting into before I just made that decision. And I won.
But your first election, you lost.
That was a special. You're right. That was a special election.
I did the special too. You did, yes.
To fill.
And you were very upset. We are in the small room. We're discussing. You showed up. I still remember, Neil. And then I saw your very sad face, angry face. You don't want to tell it.
Losing is never.
An interesting thing was that day, the Leesburg district Democrats, the leaders, actually us all, were counting on a board who gets what by pen. I still remember that. It was digitalized that time, but still Leesburg was doing, well, still a lot of counties, they still do hand count. So then I told Neil, don't worry, you will get it, the real one.
Exactly. So that was a special, you're right. That was a special election to fill an empty seat. And so had I
Yes,
won, I still would have had to run again in about another 3 or 4 months.
another 4
Um,
months.
yeah, so you're right. I didn't prevail in the special election, but then in running for a full term, the following election cycle, that election I did win. Um, and having done that and thank you, and gotten into council, I still realized there was so much to learn because the process, even of running a town, even though Leesburg isn't huge by many standards, it's the largest town in the state of Virginia, over 50,000 people. Still understanding all the different departments, what they do, the state laws that govern what you
I
can and
know,
can't
yes.
do. There's a lot to learn, and I have to confess, even that in my 8th year of having been on town council, there are always things you can learn, and certainly things you can learn from the people that you represent. So, um, but I see serving on the town council, first of all, as an important social and community function, and certainly a way to give back to the community that's given me so much and supporting me in my business for all these years.
So that was very nice. And Neil, people are watching. Uh,
Uh-huh.
you doing very well. You're talking very
Thank
well, but
you.
I'm sure people are going to love it about Leesburg and Loudon. I have few questions to you.
Go ahead.
First question is why Leesburg, Virginia is expensive. You don't have to answer. You can answer any way you want. And then why Leesburg, Virginia is so expensive. Number one. Number two, uh, who sets the agenda of city council meetings? Is the mayor or the or you guys have I think manager or councilors? Number three, what celeb what celebrities are from Leesburg, Virginia? You know who are there? There are some celebrities from Leesburg. You're a
Yeah.
long time
Okay.
living.
Well, I guess
But
I'll
you are a
take
celebrity. You are a celebrity too, anyway.
uh,
That's all. I don't want to ask
well,
many questions. And
real
I
minor
need to
celebrity,
know,
sure.
and we need to know for viewers, Loudon as well as Virginia and all over the world, that little bit about Leesburg Town Hall.
Okay, so that's
Go ahead.
4 or 5 questions in there.
Yes.
So let's start with your first question. You asked about the expense of living in Leesburg. Now, when you ask why is it so expensive to live in Leesburg, I guess I'm not sure if you're asking if
Well,
you're
Loudoun County is the richest county anyway, but the Leesburg.
yes. Well, the DC, the greater Washington metropolitan area, in fact, a good portion of the East Coast, as far as the rest of the country, is a very expensive area in which to live.
Mhm.
Both coasts, of course, contain the greatest population. Anytime you have population concentrations, that means the services provided are greater. You have to have more roads, you have to have more schools, you need more hospitals. All the services that any municipality, whether it's a town or a county or a state, any that they have to provide to a greater population simply drives the expense. Also, when you have concentrations of population in any area, it puts pressures on, for example, the real estate market, because
Mhm.
real estate becomes more dear and less available. And so construction of housing, which we all know is a problem, not only in Leesburg, but the county and the world, really, housing is a problem. But in this country, um, the the provision of housing or the lack of the provision of housing is sometimes caused by the fact that you simply have it's more difficult to build in tighter spaces. And anytime you start doing that, it drives the price. Now, if we circle back down around to Leesburg, I would argue that Leesburg is not as expensive to live, for example, as in Arlington, where your restaurant is,
It's
or
more
in
than that. It's more than that, Neil.
What is more than that?
It's
You're saying it's more expensive to live in.
like gas, food, grocery, name anything. I live both places. So used to be Arlington was a lot more than Leesburg. If we
Okay.
buy gas in Leesburg, well, I used to buy gas in Leesburg. It was much cheaper. Now, Neil, opposite. Trust me, 20
Well,
cents more than Arlington.
Well, okay. As it happened, I don't want to dispute what you're saying, but I happened to take a drive Sunday from Alexandria through Arlington, not too far from your restaurant. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to stop. But I was looking at the gas prices, and they seem to be running a little bit higher than what we see here in Leesburg. But nevertheless, the DC metropolitan area, which
But
includes,
there are some gas stations they do trick. They put lower price to sell more gas. That's in generally in
sure,
general, Leesburg is more price for gas than Arlington. Trust me.
okay.
Why?
Now, I
No,
do not.
when I moved my restaurant to one location to another one, the same shopping center. Actually, I tried because I'm a Loudonian. I'm a Leesburg resident. I moved here around here. Sorry, I drive around, look around some stores. Trust me, the rent, the price doesn't fit. It's
Well,
very expensive. It's Loudon one is you cannot even touch. But
if you
Leesburg, go ahead.
to get back to gas, and I'm not an expert, but I do know that different areas are controlled by gasoline distributors, and oftentimes the gas stations in any given area are not free to simply charge whatever it is they want. They charge what is a price that is dictated to them. And I can't speak to whether or not the
On the website it says why is expensive. Your first answer was very correct. We are not doing question answer things. No, the fact are we're letting people know that this is real estate is the number one. You said yes, correct. And then they talked about Loudoun is the richest county. That's not the answer. Should be. It should be a different answer than on only Loudoun is the richest county. That's why Leesburg is expensive. No, Leesburg is a small, nice town. It has its own agendas. You, Mayor Kelly Berg, our proud mayor, is very close to you, and we love her. She's very nice. And Leesburg. And another question I forget: what is councillor's duty? Like you guys, town councils with the mayor, what is your duty also? So go ahead. I'm not going to disturb you.
are you asking what are my responsibilities as a member of
Responsibility or
the
duties, yes. You guys, like, yeah.
well, first of all, one of the main responsibility is to attend the meetings, of which there are four per month. We meet on the second and fourth Mondays and Tuesdays of every month. On Mondays, we have what we've referred to as our council work sessions, where we discuss issues, but no official votes are taken. And then on Tuesdays, we have what are called the business meetings, and that's where we have official votes and decisions, final decisions are actually made. In addition to those meetings, I also serve as the council liaison to two of our 13 commissions. So
Mhm.
I serve as the liaison to the Planning Commission, a very important commission. It's one of the two that are required by law. And I also serve as the council liaison to our Internet and Technology Commission, also very important, as you can imagine, in this day and age, commission. The Planning Commission meetings, I have two a month, and those commission,
Is that very important because of all data centers are we holding in Loudon?
the Planning Commission,
No, you talk about internet.
oh, well, internet is important no matter where you are in the country, uh,
Yes.
because everything we do, including this meeting that you and I are having right now,
They have to have internet. Yes.
relies on the internet, as do our phones and our computers. Everything we live on the internet. Your refrigerator may live on the internet for all I know. That's we refer to the Internet of Things.
True.
So the fact that there are so many data centers in Loudoun County is not necessarily relevant to the IT commission that I serve on. That
Okay.
commission is very important because the town of Leesburg has transitioned to interfacing with our residents in a to a great extent through the internet. It's simply more convenient for people to be able to pay bills and taxes and ask questions through the town's website than to actually have to drive to town hall, which of course requires parking, waste gas, and so on. So more people, most people, interface with the town of Leesburg through the internet now, and the county as well, as opposed to actually driving to a physical location. Anytime you're connected to the internet, you are in danger of being infiltrated by bad actors, as we call them. So cybersecurity is what is one of the most critical functions that our Internet and Technology Commission has to deal with. And that's a very complex issue requiring constant vigilance to prevent people from hacking into our system, for example, and stealing data. In the end, as you and your listeners are probably aware, lots of big companies have suffered hacking and successful hacking attempts. Apple, the Department of Defense, Tesla, all of them. So working to minimize or prevent that kind of damage is very important. And by the way, it's very expensive. It's one of the
So
things.
once you say expensive, I just picked that word. You said 50,000 around population. Now, what is the size of population of Leesburg? People know that, but what is the budget actually you guys do every year? It's increasing, but I'm seeing
Our
like, oh my God, Leesburg is
annual
like,
budget. Well, we just finished our budget. So, and our budget is made up of three parts, but the total budget, the sum total of all those three parts, this past year, the budget we just passed is in the neighborhood of about 185 to 190 million dollars. Now, let me put that in
wow.
context. If I were to ask you what you think the budget of Loudoun County is, you would
But we're
say,
not talking about county, we're talking
no,
about
no, no,
Leesburg.
I just want to give it a context.
Okay.
So the Leesburg's budget is about 185 this year, about 185, 190 million dollars. The county's budget is $4.5 billion.
Billion. It's way big.
Yeah.
Yes.
So our budget is barely a rounding error relative to the county's budget. And
So
yet we
since you said loud, Neil, we have already 3 to 4 minutes. So if you can thank to all the viewers, and that was a nice conversation with you, with your lifestyle, with your from childhood to now. And are you planning to run any higher office? That's from my personal question, and you can conclude with that to viewers by thanking them.
Well, I appreciate the question. You and I have discussed this before. For your viewers' information, as I sit here today, I am 74 and a half years old. By the time I finish this term, I will be close to 80. At this stage, I feel a higher office, especially national office, for example, the House of Representatives, will be better left to those who are younger than I.
Come on, come on. No, you don't look like 74, Neil. I don't want you to say that because we have a president who is 82 or 83 years old now. He's running the country.
I am aware.
He's in good shape.
I am aware. But frankly, I like serving at this level. Local government for me is maybe more important than any other level because this is where people live. This is where people come home to be comfortable and to be able to walk the streets and eat in the restaurants and relax in the parks and so on. And it's a very important government function to be able to provide communities that are attractive places for people to want to live. And by the way, Leesburg was just rated the second nicest place to live in the state of Virginia. So I think we're doing the job that we're supposed to be doing, and I want to be able to continue being involved in that. And so higher office, probably not. So, but we'll see what the future brings.
Well, you said probably not. I like that.
Yeah,
We'll make you do that, Neil. I love that answer. Yeah. Probably not. You didn't say
there
no.
You go. There's a politician's answer for you. Sure.
You are still look like a young star. So Neil, don't disappoint us. We are your
Okay,
we are your lovers. So we love you because
I
you
appreciate
are
that very
very
much.
nice. You interact with everybody. You whenever we do like Loudoun County Democratic Party general meeting or Leesburg or any other meeting or any other campaign, you talk, you raise voice, you answer, you ask questions to everybody. The Road from Richmond or Road to Richmond program, you were there to ask everybody nice, very, very specific questions. Neil, I heard that all. So we need Neil to do that actually.
Well,
Okay,
thank you. Thank
not many people talk like I do talk in our community also.
you.
So thank you so much, Neil, for your nice
No
introduction
matter.
with your life,
I
and
appreciate it very much.
Say hi to Katie from our show.
Thank you.
Your lovely wife, she's very nice. And we are praying for 99 years old person in your family member.
I will tell her.
Yes. And then with that note, viewers, we will conclude our show here. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you. Thank you to you and all your viewers. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.